Now that we have a bit of background knowledge, I suppose it's really time to get rolling. And for me, that really means starting off with a thank you, both to all of the familiar faces here that helped me go on the trip in the first place, and to all of the new faces who welcomed me here to share my words with you. It really means the world to me. Ever since coming back, I found it almost hard to articulate and put all everything I saw and experienced into mere words. But here today, I really want to do my best to share with all of you the happiness, joy, and sorrow that I saw and felt and experienced there. But beyond that, I really want to do my part to help everyone come to understand that when it comes down to it, we're all a part of a community that goes beyond borders and differences, that when it comes down to it, no one truly stands alone. So really, I suppose I want to share with all of you my passion and my conviction that we can change the world, one little bit at a time, if we're just willing to stand up for each other. So I want to share with all of you what taking a stand means to me. To me, my first always comes seeing. I find there's so many things in our world that we just turn a blind eye to. Too often, we don't see the homeless person on the street. Too often, we are unaware of what goes on beyond our own borders. But beyond that, we often forget to see the good. The acts of kindness, big and small, that remind us this world and every single person in it is worth fighting for. As such, when I went to Esinoni, I tried to do so with open eyes. There, I saw a lack of access to education, clean water. I saw living conditions that broke my heart. But I also saw so much beauty. I saw an unparalleled land. I saw a culture that is unlike any other. But beyond that, I met remarkable people, one of which was Simone, a girl at the primary school we were building at. She was so joyful, even though her life was so different from my own. She laughed and played games with me. We sang songs and we danced. And she reminded me, as if there was ever any doubt, that Esinoni is a beautiful place that will always hold a special spot in my heart. I find there's so many causes and issues out there that I want to tackle, that I want to help, that I can't do everything at once. At the same time, I find it's a rare and special thing when you find somewhere or something you truly care about. And it's far harder to look back and see that you did nothing than it is in that moment to stand up and do something about it. For me, after I see something I want to do, my first step is to team up. I find it's not only possible, but it's fun to make a difference when you have people around you. I'm fortunate enough to not only have a team and the family and friends that make things like this possible, but also with the youth I met and traveled with in Kenya. It's super amazing that we were able to team up and create Drop by Drop as we all raise funds for the community we traveled to help their clean water project, because we really became a second family over there. So it's very special to me. We really became a second family as we bonded over things like the oversized insect. For a perspective, that spider there is on a 2x4. I had issues with that one. And then, of course, living in close living quarters, all intense together, and the sheer bliss of the 30 seconds of hot water we got. It really was special bonding over there and getting to come back and work together to do something so impactful as this. And I find once you have a special team around you like that, it's not only possible, but it can be very fun to start asking some questions that can elsewise be difficult, such as what exactly you want to do, why it's so important to do that, and how you plan to do it. For me, I want to contribute to the community that gave so much to me, even though they seemingly had so little. I want to do this because it's inconceivable to me that the friends I made there don't have access to clean water. And I'm going to do this through the support of so many amazing people like all of you. Plans, while they're tedious, can work, and asking these questions can have impact. I was fortunate enough to be a little cog in MeWe, the company I traveled with, system, as I went there to work on the education pillar. They have a slightly different approach than many charities do when it comes to coming into communities and helping. They like to say that they give a hand up instead of a hand out. They partner with the community and give them the tools so that they can help themselves out of poverty. So they have the 5 different pillars: the education, clean water and sanitation, healthcare, opportunity, and food security. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the education pillar as I worked with all of my friends to build the foundations for schools in the community. It was amazingly symbolic to me because I would get to build the little foundation that the children in the community would be learning from, that would support the community's growth in years to come. However, even there was only foundations that were built, we could see there was already a huge impact in the community. When we were there, 2 local mothers welcomed our groups into their homes. When we asked them why they were willing to do that for us, complete strangers, they said it's because they already saw the impact we was having in their community. She proudly told me about how she boiled her water so people didn't get sick, and how she hung up her clothes so that bugs and things didn't crawl into them after she cleaned them. Plans have impact. However, for me, asking questions goes beyond planning what you want to do. It's finding an extra bit more about what it is you're motivated by. For me, I was fortunate enough to gather this little bit more when I went on a water walk with my group and a couple local mothers. We all got up super duper early to meet them so that we wouldn't hold them back in their chores for the day. I was actually surprised, however, when we started to double back to our camp after we met up with them. I suppose it's illogical that I hadn't considered it, as there was a watering hole right next to our camp, but it hadn't even registered in my mind as a possibility because I'd only previously seen people leaving their livestock to drink from there. As such, I wasn't surprised when we got there we had to step over animal feces to get to the watering hole. So then we just stood there and watched as the mothers filled the plastic jerry cans for us with this disgusting brown water. Then we loaded it onto our backs and we started to walk back to their homes. It was a surprisingly cold and windy day, and it trickled down our backs so that by the time we were wrapping up the walk, we felt almost proud that we accomplished a fraction of what they do every day. But then we reached their home and we saw that her kids had come home. And Himi knew that those kids would be drinking that water, that all the kids at the primary school where we'd been laughing and dancing and singing and playing were drinking that water, that my friend Simone was drinking that water, that when this was over, I would get to go back home to the luxury of clean water and taps, but that this was their home. That extra piece of information is everything. It's what pushes you from asking questions and into navigating through your plan. Now, plans, big or small, they can seem futile. It can feel like you're pushing against a rock, that you can never possibly make a difference. But impacts are always there, whether or not you see them. I was fortunate enough to almost live the impact Mikuli is making in the community I traveled to. There we went to a marketplace. It wasn't a tourism marketplace, but rather one people went to every day to procure the goods they needed to help their families thrive. So as it wasn't a tourism marketplace, we were instead broken into little groups and given our own scenarios. My group scenario was that we are part of a family of 7. We had 4 kids who needed to have their heads shaved, and my rope for carrying the water was starting to break, so I needed to buy a new one. We were given 500 shillings, which is equivalent of about $5 here, to do this. So we went into the marketplace, and I don't know if any of you have ever tried to barter for a hypothetical haircut in a foreign language. So we were all feeling kind of proud when we came out there with all our goods and all our hair intact. But then we got back to the camp and the facilitators asked us to divide up our food and make a meal plan for the week for our family. And there we realized when they asked us if we were happy with our food, that we couldn't sustain ourselves on what we managed to procure. They kind of nodded and walked on, but then they came back and they said, how would your situation change if the children in your family went to a WE school? When we kind of just shrugged, they explained to us that each child that goes to one of WE's schools is given a free lunch every day. And that just blew my mind because that meant all the kids in my hypothetical family were getting proper lunches each school day. That meant there were 20 less meals for my family to provide. That meant we wouldn't starve. So then they went back again, went away. We were feeling kind of happy about ourselves now. Then they came back again and they said, how would this change if the mother in your family was a part of the opportunity program? When he shrugged again, they gave us an example. They said, say, the mother you're talking to might have made rumbus for ceremonial sticks to sell through Meet a Week. They could make another maybe 700 shillings a week. And that meant my family was making over twice as much as it had before, while not altering the way of life. That meant my family could sustain ourselves. That meant we could maybe save so that children could continue their education past the free one. It was mind-altering. It was life-changing. Impacts are rarely seeable. You cannot see the true impact you make. But the impact is always there. And so that's my final step, is to dream. to dream of the impact you are having, to dream of the impact you can and will have. My dream is that the children of Esinoni will have access to clean water. But the thing about dreams is they don't have to end when you wake up. I dream that the children of Esinoni will have food security. They'll have access to education. They'll have access to healthcare. They'll have opportunities I can't even dream of. And because of all of you, this dream is a little bit more possible. So thank you, all of you, because now you know what it means to me to stand. And I also consider, even if you can't contribute financially, you all have the power to make an impact through your actions, through your words, and also through a unique opportunity the We website has. Right now they have on their website a pledge that says, you think in terms not of I, but in terms of we, of making a global impact, about caring about your community, about standing up. And if you take this pledge, saying that you live we, as I know you all do, they'll donate $10. I know it probably won't help my friends, but it'll help someone's friends. So I ask you to consider just pressing these few buttons that won't cost you anything, even if you can't help my friends, because it would still mean the world. So thank you all so much. That's the end of my formal presentation. Thank you still? Yeah, cool. So I had some slides that just show some common questions I get. And then afterwards, if you want to open up to any questions anybody has about the trip, me, we, and I'll do my best to answer. So one question I always get is food. Maybe my friends are just very food-oriented like I am, but so the food was largely westernized, but we had a personal cook that was there in the can, and it was all absolutely delicious, and it all came from a local farm that's run by community members that also provides for all the schools in the area, and is all run sustainably to make sure it's long-lasting. Living accommodations, we joked there, it was 5-star camping. We got like our own bedspread, some like hanging rack things. We even had someone come in and make our beds at the end of the day. I know, right? 5-star camping. And then, okay, so anyone who knows me knows I have a serious aversion to bugs. So my main issue was the spiders, but one thing most people had issues with were these. They're actually a type of ant, but they're like bigger than your finger. Oh my God. And they're always in our tents. And someone tried to squash one on my pillow, and I'm like, no! So yeah, you see me at night hopping around with paper bags, trying to catch them and lift them out of the tent. Oh, okay. And then of course the build site, like I said, we got to build the foundation for 2 schoolhouses. So this was actually a surprising amount of steps, because here you can kind of just pour in concrete, the mixing machine, but there you had to mix all the concrete and the mortar and the foundation walls. So it's a lot of work, but what I really liked about it though is that we worked alongside 2 Fundis, which were community members that were in charge of the construction site, so that we weren't taking away their jobs, but rather just kind of giving them an extra helping hand as they built the school, which I really loved that aspect, that we got to work alongside the community without taking away jobs. That just was really special to me. And then a lot of people question if I felt safe there. I've never felt safer. The second we walked into the airport, there were facilitators from the company that were there welcoming us, making sure we didn't have any questions. And every time we were there, we were with 2 Maasai warriors. That's Richard and Elijah that I was chilling with there. I never felt safer, and the community there was amazing. Like I said, they welcomed us into their homes. Kids ran alongside us and played.
Where can I get that shirt?
I don't know that they sell those particular shirts anymore, but on the we.org site, they will occasionally sell motivational shirts like that are all made in Canada sustainably. No sweatshops or anything. So check out the we.org site. I'm not sure all the clothing they have up now. And then the safari, I was so lucky. I got to go on a safari, and there was not a second there were animal in sights. There were zebras, I saw at least 5 different families of elephants. Getting to see that in the wild is like dream come true. And then giraffes, water buffalo, wildebeest during the Great Migration. There are tons of those everywhere. Gazelles, it was really magical. And then anyone who followed my trip beforehand, you might know I had the opportunity to meet Spencer West, a keynote speaker for Me to We, and Craig Kielberger, one of the founders. So they both told some really interesting stories that if you want, I'd be happy to tell you on broken telephone style later if you ask. And yeah, that's that. So if anyone has just any questions to throw out.
Yeah, right here. How long were you there for?
I was there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Questions, comments? Yes.
So if they had water in their, clean water available, that would mean that they could grow vegetables and things as well. It would help their food situation.
Yeah,
They
that's,
can get seeds.
that's the thing. A lot of it is all tied together. So they have the 5 pillars: the education, the healthcare, the clean water, the opportunity, and they're all kind of tied together. You can't go to school if you're sick, and you can't stay healthy if you're drinking water with feces in it. And agriculture, if you don't have enough water to grow food, you can't have food security. So that's why they try and see what the community individually needs. So right now they're working education first, and then water pillars, hopefully the next project they're taking on.
So what do they do, Jaclyn? They want to drill one well per like little community, or like how is it spaced out or whatever?
So how they do this, actually they're really unique in that they ask the community what they need. So it differs between each area, even which pillar they take on first. I believe the last I heard, they're thinking about doing a borehole in the community, but they just, because each community is so very unique, they talk to the community members and see what would actually work best. But in the case of Esinoni, I believe it is going to be a borehole.
How far down would they have to go?
I don't know, that's again with the whole thing, everything being unique. Yeah, it really just depends on the community, because this is still in the workings for the water project. I don't know the details that minute yet. If you want, my contact information is on the website. I can see if I can find anything out for you if you still want to know.
Over here, Bill.
Could you tell us a bit about the schools in that particular community?
In that particular community, so right now they have an old schoolhouse which is made of mud and sticks. They still run it, but they try and use it less because it's made mainly of, well, like I said, it's made of mud, so every time it rains, it's just completely coated. So if someone drops their school book, that's their only school book, so it can be ruined really easily. And you can't actually fit in the desk. When I was there, I was kind of like scrunched up in a little ball trying to sit down on the desk. So the new schoolhouses, they're made of concrete floors and brick walls, and the roofs are, I think they have shinglings in this one. And the desk you can actually fit in, which is very nice. Yeah, they have a couple learning tools. They have blackboards. So yeah, they're very nice. They had one or two, no, they had 2 already built when we got there.
And the girls were accommodated in school?
Yes, the primary schools are for boys and girls. The secondary schools thus far have been for girls, so they're opening up a boys' secondary school as well.
Okay, because in many parts of that area, the girls are too busy carrying the water and only the boys go to school.
Yeah, it's again with everything being tied, clean water, education, healthcare, it all comes together. So when you start to help one, you can start to help others. It's the hope anyway.
Other questions or Keith?
Please tell us about the honey and what you're trying to do with all that.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't say that, did I?
Lights, please.
So yeah, here I have some artisan goods made by women that are part of the opportunity program I mentioned at Me to We. I also have some bookmarks that are free for anyone who wants to know, as well as some information with the cookie recipe and the group drop by drop. But then I also have 2 pieces of wire art that were made in Kenya by mothers. They're little necklaces, water buffalo. And then I have some products made from African Bronze Honey Project, which is made in Zambia, the honey itself. It tastes almost molassesy, it's a bit different. If you want, we have some samples over there that you can try to taste, as well as bee balm, which is made with the bees' wax from them. It's all sustainably made, recycling containers. It supports entrepreneurs in Zambia. And then the proceeds of all of that will be going towards Drop by Drop, which is the water project for Esinoni.
I did have one of those cookies, and it did remind me of a molasses cookie. Very nice. Other questions? Other remarks? Comments?
And if you dip the cookie in honey, that was pretty nice.
It's like doubly, I haven't tried that.
I thought that's what it's there for. It looked like it.
To be recommended. I heard someone, Jaclyn, just in passing, as your sort of remarks came to an end, say, "Wow," and I think that reflects just our reaction to a very thoughtful, informative, articulate presentation. Your passion and your generosity of spirit comes through. So we thank you for all that you're doing and for introducing us to the WE mission and website. We thank you for your presentation, and also want to give you this note of thanks with a small honorarium that you can use for yourself or for the mission or whatever you wish. But on behalf of everybody here at Chalmers, thank you for a wonderful presentation.